Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today I want to talk about the Lightfall campaign, which everyone on the internet seems to have an opinion about, and I wanted to share mine here because it's not what a lot of you folks think. There are going to be spoilers here, so definitely come back later if you haven't played through the campaign or don't want to be spoiled, but I'm going to jump into it by saying I thought the Lightfall campaign was better than the Witch Queen. I have my reasons for it. It fits what I'm looking for, and it's fine if you disagree with me, but I'm going to explain all of my reasoning and why I think some of the complaints about the Lightfall campaign are quite a bit overblown. First and foremost, I felt like the Lightfall campaign delivered on the promise that Bungie had given to us, in that it was a over-the-top epic. It was a battle on a beautiful location. Neomuna as a location is just better than Savathun's Throne World, in my personal opinion. Right there alone, I just really enjoyed exploring Neomuna. It felt so much different than anywhere else we've been in Destiny's history so far. And so for me, that's a major W in that regard. Two, it felt like the Witch Queen campaign had us doing more like fetch quests and side missions and stuff like that, and it didn't feel as concentrated as Lightfall. I actually really like the fact that some people will say it felt rushed, but for me, it felt like we were running forward towards this battle the entire time at full speed, trying to prevent the catastrophe. There wasn't like this back and forth that we're trying to learn things and everything. Like, we were trying to stop a major event from happening, and there was no time to sit and breathe. For me, that was cool because it felt like it was a little bit more immersive in what we were trying to do, rather than, like I said, Witch Queen, it made sense because Savathun is a trickster. She's trying to lead us on a merry dance and have a bunch of red herrings all over the place. But for this campaign, it made sense, and it fits what I'm looking for with Destiny quite a bit more. A second thing that people have complained about is the strand being prevalent throughout the campaign, just getting tastes of it, and it kind of messes with your builds and stuff. You can definitely set up a subclass agnostic build like I did. It made life a lot easier for me. Nothing was reliant on like volatile rounds or anything of that nature, or my void subclass. I was able to have on exotics and weapons that are useful regardless of what subclass I was running, and that made life a lot easier because then I could just jump in and enjoy Strand to the fullest and take advantage of the fun I was having, because the grappling, the movement, the ability, everything was an absolute blast for me, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm maybe in the minority here, but I actually really liked that we got so much Strand in the campaign because it felt like I was doing something new and trying out something fresh the entire time. Another thing that people have talked about is Nimbus. They are a character that has received a lot of backlash, but for me, it definitely reminds me of Crow in the early days. Not in the being the same style of character, but just in the way that they will grow on us over the course of time, and we're going to watch them mature right in front of our eyes, which I think is very cool. So we start off with Nimbus, who's this cocky, young Cloud Strider, right? They have Rohan, who is able to lead them and guide them and be the voice of reason in a lot of ways. But then we've also got Osiris. Osiris is a character who kind of annoyed me the most with how forceful he was with the Cloud Striders and with us trying to push us to the next part. But again, that was minor quibble. And again, and if you haven't played in the post-campaign content, I highly recommend diving into that as well. I'm going to spoil some of that also. So if you haven't played through that, maybe pause it here and come back later. But I think all of that explains the relationship between Osiris and Rohan, the loss that they both felt. And there's just so much there that is really fun to dive into. And like I said, for me, Nimbus was a fun character. They are the person in your life who brings the levity no matter the situation, whether it's a good time or a bad time, no matter what. We all know those types of people, and that's what Nimbus is. Doesn't always work out. They are new to being a Cloud Strider. They're just trying to understand their role in this situation and try to figure it all out on the go. And you can clearly see that through the growth of various missions, not only through the campaign, but then after the campaign as well. And for me, it was fun to watch. I was never annoyed by Nimbus. I feel like they are a character that I will absolutely love going forward, and another ally in our battle against the Witness. So I'd be fascinated to see what happens with Osiris going forward. If they're just going to be, if he's just going to be a mentor to Nimbus, and will we see, because he's lost his ghost and the tragedy of that, will he take his remaining time and become a Cloud Striker? Cloud Strider, is that possible? Because I would absolutely love to see that. I feel like Osiris as a Cloud Strider would be fantastic, or maybe even an honorary Cloud Strider like we have with Saladin in the Cabal. So that leads me to another point of why I love this campaign. That end battle before we fight Callus, when we were side by side with Kaido and our forces, was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. It was probably my favorite part of the campaign. The Callus fight was a lot of fun. It was back and forth. It was difficult at first, but once you kind of learned how to do it, it was great. The Tormentors. The Tormentors are the best addition to Destiny 2 as an enemy that we've gotten in a long time, and in my opinion are very much superior to the Light-Bearing Hive. The Light-Bearing Hive I never felt as threatened by as the Tormentors, and it definitely made me think about my loadout and what I was using, and has me kind of looking forward to how I can take them on in the future, what types of content they're going to be in, and all that kind of good stuff. Overall, my thoughts on the campaign are I really enjoyed it. I loved the blockbuster action feel, but the main thing that I've seen people talk about is the veil, and this is where it kind of the argument is lost on me for multiple reasons. One, we see in that final fight that Nimbus doesn't really know a lot about the Ishtar technology, and I feel like it is very indicative in some of the other things we hear throughout the campaign that the locals don't know a whole lot about it either. I think there are, like, Callus was our main focus the entire time of the campaign. He was the thing we needed to stop to prevent the cloud arc from being destroyed, us losing all the citizens of Neomuna, a major catastrophe. In order to do that, we had to stop Callus first and foremost. We don't have to know exactly what the veil is in order to know that's our objective. We didn't know that the Witness was going to trick us, and now we're going to be led on a year-long chase to learn about all of this stuff before we can finally have enough power to confront him in the final shape. We are building up the knowledge and the abilities and the power for that final expansion, and that seemed very obvious to me, and it made perfect sense in that regard to me personally. The veil doesn't have to be something we have intimate knowledge about. I don't know the ins and outs and the details of how the internet works, right? But I know it's important, and I know that unless I do all my research about it, there's going to be things I'm not going to understand. That is how I feel about the veil. And I think it is a thing there that is important, but was not the focus of this campaign, even though a lot of people expected it to be more important and more well fleshed out. I think we'll get that over the next year. And I think we'll look back at this campaign once the final shape is completed in a very different light than we do now, based on everything that is coming. Now, is it a perfect campaign? No. I think there were times where like the Neomuna feeling a little empty makes sense in storyline purpose, but is a bit frustrating when you look at how they could have kind of added some individuals to kind of be there. It just feels kind of empty. I do think that there are things that could have, like the Rohan's death, I felt like was a little rushed when we didn't get to, like, I wish we had had a more emotional, impactful moment with him first. Whereas really this is just Nimbus's pain that is being felt rather than our own. So that's something I wish we would have faced more loss. Like if we didn't know Amanda Holiday was going to be in Season of Defiance and she was missing, or we had lost some other allies along the way, or at least had them get taken or missing or whatever the case may be. I feel like there could have been more loss on our end to have this feel more like our Infinity War, but really that's not what they were going for. just a personal quibble. And then also Osiris, I feel like, was a little bit annoying, especially in the beginning of the campaign. And he kind of resorts to the same kind of character all the time, despite learning over the course of expansions and seasons and stuff. And that's a little frustrating. It feels like he regresses more than any other character in the game. But again, he has lost his ghost. He is thinking differently, and he is kind of has been broken by all the times he kind of split dimensions, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of makes sense in the long term, but again, I wish we didn't have to deal with that all the time. But those are minor quibbles in the grand scheme of things, and I really hope that you guys took something away from this video, learned a little bit, or at least kind of can examine the campaign from a new perspective, because I think that's important. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. I'm going to have loads more Lightfall Destiny 2 content going forward on this channel, so stay tuned for all of that. My name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.